I went to a bar called the Lost Bar. It had strange rules to follow. The Lost Bar, rules for the lost. There's something about getting lost in a city you thought you knew that turns unsettling real quick. I wasn't new here. I'd lived in the city for years, long enough to memorize every major street, every shortcut, every late-night corner store with flickering neon signs. But that night I got lost. It started with a fight stupid, petty, the kind that leaves you more angry at yourself than anyone else. I stormed out of my apartment. No wallet, no plan, just my phone and a growing need to walk it off. The city felt different that night, quieter, like it was waiting for something. I walked aimlessly, letting the glow of streetlights guide me through unfamiliar blocks. Eventually I realized I didn't recognize anything. The roads twisted unnaturally, like they didn't want to be mapped. Then I saw it, a faint green light, flickering like a flame, hovering above a black doorway, half sunken into the alley wall. The sign read the Lost Bar. I stared at it for a moment. The name felt appropriate. I hesitated, then stepped inside. The inside was timeless. Dark wood panels lined the walls, shelves of dusty liquor bottles stretched to the ceiling, and soft jazz played from a record player in the corner. The lights were low, tinted amber, like they'd been dimmed a century ago and never touched again. A few people were inside, but none looked up. Some wore clothes from decades past. One man sat in a military uniform that hadn't been standard since World War II. A woman in a feathered headpiece smoked a cigarette like it was 1925. They weren't talking. They were just existing, frozen in time. The bartender, tall, impossibly still, watched me approach. He looked old but not weak, like a statue carved to resemble a man. I sat down. He didn't speak, he didn't smile, he just slid over a drink. Before I could ask how he knew that was my go-to, he finally spoke. His voice was rough, like gravel soaked in bourbon. "There are rules here." I blinked. "Excuse me." He reached under the bar and pulled out a yellowed piece of parchment, sliding it toward me with a single, bony finger. Handwritten, in fading ink, were the words, "Rules for the lost one. Do not enter this bar on purpose. 2. Do not speak of this bar to those who haven't seen it. 3. Do not stay past 3:33 a.m. 4. Do not look into the glass behind the bar. 5. If a mirror version of you sits down, do not speak to them. 6. If the jukebox plays a song you've never heard but know by heart, leave a tip. 7. If you hear knocking from inside the walls, ignore it. 8. The man in the black hat pays with memories. Do not offer him change." I let out a dry laugh. "Is this some kind of theme bar?" The bartender didn't react, just wiped a glass slowly, his eyes never blinking. I looked back at the list. Somehow it didn't feel like a joke anymore. I tried to pull out my phone. No signal, no Wi-Fi. I glanced at the bar mirror behind the shelf of bottles. Rule 4. My reflection looked fine, but then it didn't. My reflection didn't blink when I did. It smiled when I frowned. I turned away quickly, knocking 3 soft raps behind the shelf. Then silence, I froze. The bartender looked up from his glass polishing. Just that. One word. I nodded, my throat dry. Then the door creaked open. No one entered. Rule 3 came to mind. I checked the dusty clock on the wall. 3:27 a.m., 6 minutes. I stood to leave. As I moved toward the exit, a figure stepped out from the shadows near the jukebox. Same build, same hair, same jacket. It was me, but his eyes were wrong to dark. Too wide. He smiled, stepping closer. "You don't look like you belong here," he said. I backed away slowly, remembering the rule. Do not speak to your mirror self. I kept my lips sealed. He grinned wider. His teeth were wrong. "Fine," he whispered, leaning close. "I'll speak for both of us." He vanished in a flicker, like a dying frame in an old VHS tape. 3:33 a.m. I burst through the door just as the final chime echoed into the alley. The air outside hit me like a wave of ice. The city was still asleep, still quiet, but real again. I turned to look back. The bar was gone. Only brick and shadows remained. I reached into my pocket and found something I hadn't put there. A yellowed receipt. No charges. Just one word scribbled in black ink, remember? Since that night, I've tried to find it again. I've walked every alley, turned every corner, but the Lost Bar only shows up when you've truly lost something: your way, your mind, your past. So if you ever find yourself standing beneath a flickering green light and the door creaks open without a sound, don't go in. Or if you do, follow the rules.